My name is Kelly Quinnett, and I am a professor of theater at the University of Idaho and a chaplain in Gritman's chaplain program. I'm so excited to welcome you to the 2020, you know what, fire me and I will just have someone else come in. The 22nd Gritman Foundation Pink Cocktail. I'll be serving as MC for tonight's event. Our team at Gritman Medical Center and the Gritman Foundation would not be able to do the foundational work we do without the support of the wonderful people in this room. Thank you so much for being here. The reason we are here today is to support our friends and neighbors. Cancer remains the leading cause of death in Latah County, and it is our goal to do everything we can to support these vital programs so that we can reduce and eliminate instances of cancer in our community. We're fortunate to have oncology, infusion, pharmacy, and women's imaging services right here in Moscow so patients don't have to travel for their care. Providing exceptional care that's close to home is what this organization is all about. I believe we have representatives from these teams in attendance. Would you please stand and let us recognize you for the day in and day out dedication you provide? Please stand. Yeah. Please, everybody. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Today, we also want to educate you about the services available to anyone in the region who may be battling a cancer diagnosis. I know we have cancer survivors here with us today, and those who may be battling a cancer diagnosis as we speak. Please know that you have the support of your friends and family in this community, including every one of us in this room. We are eager to share stories of resilience and survival from two local women who have recently gone through cancer treatment. Please join me in thanking today's speakers for their bravery in sharing their stories with us. Your support is what this event is all about. This event started with 35 people in 2002. As a way to raise awareness about the importance of screening mammograms in Idaho. Funds raised since that time have gone to so many Gritman programs. Bosom Buddies, which helps pay for screening mammograms for women in Latah County. The Light a Candle program, designed to ease the burden of costs associated with cancer care through gas and grocery gift cards, massages, and other direct financial assistance. The Cancer Care Fund, which supports Light a Candle and Bosom Buddies, as well as the purchase and updating of much-needed equipment to support our cancer care services. Taken together, your support makes it easier for our friends to fill their gas tanks, to stock their refrigerators, to offset the cost of a 3D mammogram. This funding has helped Gritman purchase equipment and create spaces like our wig room, so more patients have the resources they need right here in our community. The Pink Tea and Pink Cocktail events may have expanded beyond their original mission to help fund all cancer care on the Palouse. But the overarching objective remains the same: to support our friends and neighbors as we detect, fight, and survive cancer. Through today's events, we hope to raise at least $75,000 toward cancer care services in our region. With your generous support, I know we can reach that goal. Thanks to the support of friends who couldn't be here today, as well as the registrations and donations from everyone in this room, we have already raised more than $21,000 toward our goal. Yeah. All of the money, 100%, is directed back towards these important programs through the Gritman Foundation. Included in those generous donors are our corporate sponsors, who I would like to recognize now. Thank you to appearances marketing and promotion. Avista, Admiral Beverage, Pepsi, Bennett Lumber Products, DK Mullen Architects, Idaho Central Credit Union, Inland North Waste, Kevin J. Orozco Insurance Agency, Moscow Medical, Palouse Specialty Physicians, P1 FCU, Schweitzer Engineering Laboratories, and Umpqua Bank. Thank you for your generous support toward our fundraising goal. We're also thankful for our in-kind corporate sponsors, Inland Northwest Broadcasting, for their help in spreading the word about this event in our community. We have a few future leaders of our community who I would now like to recognize. Each year, the high school volleyball teams in Latah County host fundraising matches with all proceeds going back to Gritman's Light a Candle program. These annual Spike for a Cure games are a lot of fun and provide much needed support to Gritman Foundation patients. Thank you to the volleyball teams from Troy, Potlatch, Moscow, and Genesee for raising more than $3,000 this year to support these programs. Representatives from each team joined us this morning to be honored for their hard work. Events like today show us just how difficult a cancer diagnosis can be. Thankfully, we have the resources here on the Palouse so more patients can stay close to their home for their healing and their recovery. That's where we would like to start today, by learning more about the services offered through cancer care in our community. To start things off, I would like to welcome Kara Best, Gritman's president and CEO, to talk about some of the services available through our partnerships. Kara, by the way, is celebrating her 30th year with Gritman Medical Center. Please join me in welcoming Kara.
I'm going to say my same joke. It's hard to believe it's been 30 years when I'm only 34. But it is a great honor to be a part of Gritman Medical Center, working with our board, and really serving our mission at the hospital and serving our community. So thank you all for being here tonight, and I want to welcome you all to the Pink Cocktail. It is great to see so many of you here helping support our families and friends here in our community. The Pink Tea and Pink Cocktail events have been supporting our patients, families battling cancer for the past 2 decades. We have raised over $1 million in those 2 decades to help provide cancer care services in our region. One of these cancer services is our Light a Candle program that you heard about. These are supporting families, about 100 families, with gas and grocery cards, massage, and other financial assistance that help during this difficult time. This program is further supported by generous friends and neighbors who understand the importance of this program and go above and beyond to help serve these families. One of those generous supporters is Heidi Heath. Heidi, can you stand up? She's back here in the back corner. So Heidi and a dedicated group of community members hold a tournament at the Moscow Elks Golf Course each summer, with all proceeds going back to the Light a Candle program. Heidi and her team, Mary Nelson, Annette Smith, Joe Linden, Sandra Hinckley, and Dana Hull, in organizing this event. This scramble has raised over $10,000 this last time. Since 2008, they've been putting on this tournament, and they have raised over $45,000. Thank you, Heidi, and your tribe. I also want to recognize our partnership with Palouse Oncology in caring for cancer patients in the region. Because of the service Palouse Oncology provides in Moscow, patients are able to stay on the Palouse for their treatment. I want to express how proud I am of this team and everything they have done in caring for the men and women who face a cancer diagnosis. Led by Dr. Raj, this team is knowledgeable and compassionate. Not only do they provide high-quality health care, they also go out of their way to make a difference and make their patients smile. For example, earlier this fall, the entire staff wore Hawaiian shirts to celebrate the completion of a patient's oncology treatment. It's those little acts of kindness that make our patients feel more comfortable during such a difficult time. Dr. Raj and his entire team are right here at this table. So please stand again. I know you stood earlier, so stand up. I want to thank Dr. Raj and Palouse Oncology. Palouse Oncology is part of Palouse Specialty Physicians, which is actually a joint venture between Gritman Medical Center, Pullman Regional Hospital, and Whitman Hospital and Medical Center. It is through the partnership that we were able to treat cancer patients right here in Moscow and help our friends and loved ones close to home during the time of healing and recovery. Dr. Raj and everyone at Palouse Oncology, your unwavering dedication makes an incredible difference in our patients' lives. A few weeks ago, Palouse Oncology team led us into their space. We want to give you all a look behind the scenes at what happens and the compassionate care that they do at that center. I'm happy to share that with you now, so please enjoy looking inside Palouse Oncology, and thank you again for coming to the Pink Cocktail.
It's a great time to be in oncology because of the cutting edge technology and how much we've been able to provide to patients and keep them alive much longer. We see a wide variety of cancers like breast, colon, prostate, lung, bladder, and we also see a lot of other bone marrow cancers such as lymphomas and leukemias, especially this area has been heavy in multiple myeloma, and we serve a lot of people here. When we get a referral, our goal is to be able to see them within 48 to 72 hours because time is of the essence. Depending upon their diagnosis, then we decide whether they're going to need infusion, whether they're going to need surgery first, whether they're going to need other services in addition to whatever they need at present, and then go from there. Cancer is a disease that doesn't see any kind of race, color, socioeconomic strata. It takes apart at so many different levels. It doesn't discriminate. This disease does not discriminate. So why don't we put our efforts together to be able to at least provide the resources that we can, or help people that we can that are ravaged, or help families that are ravaged by this disease in any shape or form. I also believed I can definitely provide the best experiences possible that they can go through when they're going through their treatment. My team and my extended team, right from the front desk to everybody, my medical assistant, my nurses, our office manager, you name it. Everybody plays such an important role in providing a service to patients that come in that I think we're all part of one wheel, and we're all cogs in that wheel. Any diagnosis, especially a cancer diagnosis, takes away from a lot of your day-to-day normalcy, takes away from your ability to work, it takes away from your ability to provide an income to your family, it takes away your ability to put food on the table sometimes. When patients talk about how thankful they are that we can provide little resources like how much a gas card means to them to be able to go to the radiation appointments, how much it means for them to be able to pay a bill and not worry about their next payment, how important it is to be able to celebrate a holiday and be able to provide for their family when they don't have the resources to do so while they're going through treatment is just amazing. There are so many different programs that are very close to our heart because all of these programs that Gritman has to offer, like Light a Candle, Bosom Buddies, they help with providing financial assistance to our patients that need the financial assistance, whether it's dietary financial assistance, whether it's getting them nutritional supplementation, whether it's getting them gas cards, whether it's getting them to be able to pay a bill. Having those services here and being able to support those services in any way possible is definitely a help for each and every one of these patients and for our efforts to be able to provide those services. So the bell is actually a culmination of treatment. So somebody that's going through therapy and it's curative therapy, we celebrate their culmination of their treatment by this victorious ringing of the bell and ringing out the old and bringing in the new. It is a very joyous occasion. For some people, it's also celebratory because they've had a rough year. They've had multiple things that have happened to them in that rough year, and so it's just a way of like letting go and saying, okay, I'm done with this chapter of my life and it's time to move on. You know, it takes a village. Everybody plays a role. No one's too small. No dollar amount is too little. Any means of assistance is a way to help.
Thank you, Dr. Raj, for sharing your message with us and allowing us a glimpse into your office and to your team. You and your team's dedication to our patients does not go unnoticed. It is now my honor to introduce Kathy Clark. Kathy lives in Colfax and is in the middle of her own cancer fight. A current patient of Palouse Oncology, Kathy is close to finishing radiation. Her story is a reminder of how every moment and gesture can have a profound effect. Kathy spoke this morning, and we are honored to share the video of that right now.
Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story. I have been on this journey for the past year and a half. It started the end of July of 2023 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And then about 3 months later, I found out I had a second cancer. Just hearing the news of breast cancer was quite a jolt. But then to have another cancer was really like being on a roller coaster. I started with surgeons, oncologists, nurses, and nurse navigators. And by the way, I'd never heard of a nurse navigator, but thank God for them, because what they did for me was put everything in order. Because by this time, my head is spinning and I'm not able to put everything together. So they helped me schedule appointments and they kept me on track with everything. So on January 21st of this year, I underwent surgery to remove my lump and I had a complete hysterectomy. All this in the same day. My daughters were there and stayed with me for a week. It was a wonderful week and I was very fortunate to have them there for the first week after surgery. But then it was just me. I started chemotherapy and was so happy I was able to go to Palouse Oncology and meet Dr. Raj. He explained everything to me, not that I understood it and even remembered part of it, but we started the road of chemo together. His understanding and compassion about what I was going through lifted me in so many ways. The staff there were also wonderful. The nurses and all the staff greeted you with a warm smile and even a hug. But by this time, when I was starting all of this, I was beginning to worry about finances. I live on a fixed income, and there were so many little things that started to pop up. Gas for traveling and fatigue had also started from chemo. Bills were beginning to pile up. This is when I was introduced to Angel, who helped me navigate the little things that can become big things. Light a Candle was one of the programs. And as you've been told, it can help you with many things: gas expenses, massage therapy, groceries, and many other small things that become a very heavy burden. The funds that are raised here today will go to help others like myself, and believe me, you have no idea how much of a relief it can be. When I started this journey, I made a vow that I would find good in whatever happened. There were good days and bad days, but through it all, I have always been able to find some good. This road I have traveled this last year and a half has been filled with new learning and finding new strengths. I will be done with radiation the end of this week. It will be a party at my house, even if it's only me, my cat, and my dog. Special treats for everyone. I'm a very fortunate person. I have 2 wonderful daughters who were my biggest cheerleaders, and a fantastic group of friends and coworkers who rallied around me. They have all meant so much to me and will always continue to do so. As I stand here before you, I am hoping that I can become an advocate for other cancer patients, and that I can come alongside of them and help to give them strength and knowledge that they too are stronger than they think. In closing, I would like to leave you this quote by Paul S. Boynton. As we step into the unknown, we discover that we can be fragile and strong, and terrified and brave, all at the same time. Thank you for hearing my story.
The end of this week will be a party for sure. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your message with us. We know your story and journey will help others who are fighting this terrible disease. The important work of assisting patients with a cancer diagnosis often starts with the images captured during a mammogram or other diagnostic test. At Gritman, our team of radiologists, led by Dr. Reisenauer, are the medical staff tasked with reading those images. She is here today to provide an update on the services available at our Women's Imaging Center and what to expect if you get called back after your mammogram. Please welcome our Medical Director of Imaging, Dr. Kristen Reisenauer.
Thanks, Kelly. And thank you all for being here. This is wonderful. Great to see you all. Yes, I'm going to give you a little behind the curtains peek at what happens after your mammogram. So next slide. So I'm sure that most of you are familiar with the Women's Imaging Center. This is our lobby, but a lot happens on the other side of that door. And so just want to show you what happens after that you get your mammogram. So some of you may notice that I wasn't here last year in person. Well, I have a really, really good excuse. And this is my excuse right here. So this is my new grandson. He was born a year ago. So I was at his birth, my first grandchild. So that's why I wasn't here. Next slide. So your screening mammogram. So what is a screening mammogram? Well, it is your routine annual evaluation for an asymptomatic breast. Now, what I mean is breasts that don't have any symptoms. So no lump, no abnormal discharge. Those are done at the different mammograms. We ask you to see your doctors first. But screening mammograms are still the gold standard for breast cancer detection. It should be done every year, beginning at the age of 40, unless you have a high risk, like you have multiple first-degree relatives, like your mother and 2 sisters, or you're BRCA positive, or you have other strong risk factors. Then we could ask you to start screening a little earlier, maybe the age of 35, but still we recommend it every year. Still, the best thing you can do to detect breast cancer is your yearly mammogram. Next slide. So how's the screening mammogram done? Well, Gritman pioneered 3D mammography in the Inland Northwest. We're really proud of that. We were the first institution by almost 2 years to offer 3D mammography. Ahead of Spokane, ahead of Boise, ahead of Coeur d'Alene. So we've had some of the longest experiences interpreting 3D mammography in the region. We're really, really proud of that. And all of the screening mammograms performed at Women's Imaging Center are 3D mammograms. So every single one of our mammograms is 3D. The Women's Imaging Center is a fully ACR and MQSA certified facility, which means we go through certifications every year. And screening mammograms are taken in 2 projections of each breast. So I'm sure some of you know that, but 2 projections of each breast. So next slide. This is the machine that we do the screening mammogram on. This is a Hologic state-of-the-art 3D mammogram machine. Most of you are very familiar with that. Next slide. And these are the images we get. So this is the two images that we receive. On the left-hand side is a side-to-side view of each breast, and on the right-hand side is a top-to-bottom view of each breast. So we're getting 2 views of each breast in a screening mammogram. But wait, there's more. So next slide. So what happens to those images after they're taken? Well, those images are sent through a computer for a second look, we call that. The computer kind of flags the areas that it says, hey, you as a radiologist may want to take a look right there and see if that's something you want to be concerned about. The images are then sent to a dedicated high-resolution read station where it creates that through post-processing, creates that 3D model that we talk about for 3D mammography and we're able to interpret. And then the images are interpreted by the radiologist throughout the day. So, and oftentimes we get out that same result out to your physician that very same day. So next slide. So there's that special machine, the special high-resolution monitors that we're looking at workstation, and there's a lovely radiologist that might be reading your mammogram. So next slide. So what happens to the exam and this report? Well, the report is generated by voice recognition, so a transcription program that's immediately then uploaded into your medical record. So your doctor has access to that report immediately after it's transcribed. This official report is available also to you by MyChart. Oftentimes, you might even have it before you get home. So that's how quickly we're trying to read mammals through the day, because you know this is important. A secondary explanation letter is then generated and sent to you by U.S. mail, and notifying the results and if we want any follow-up. Okay, so the next slide. This is an example of that letter here, and it really has 3 big main informational items. The first, of course, is the result of your test. Was it negative? We'll just see you back in a year. Or do we want to have you come back and take a look at something just a little bit more? All right? It also gives you a statement of your breast density. That's something that's new and required by all facilities now this year. And so you might see then that letter saying that you either have dense breasts, which means you have more fibroglandular tissue relative, or not. And so you either have dense breasts or not. It's important to know that because patients with dense breasts, it can reduce the sensitivity of mammography slightly, and it's just a knowledge point for you to know. Also, it gives you instructions for follow-up. Either it was a negative exam, and we'll just see you back next year, or it was an exam that we saw something and we want to bring you back for. So next slide. So the dreaded callback letter. What does it mean if I get called back for additional imaging after your mammogram? All right, first, take a deep breath. All right, it's a scary thing, but it doesn't mean we found breast cancer. All right? It also doesn't mean that the original mammogram was faulty in any way whatsoever. It just simply means that the radiologist saw something on that screening mammogram that made us say, I think I want to know more about that, all right? Because our breasts change every year, as we all know. Our breasts change, and when they do that, it changes the picture. And so when something changes, maybe we want to know a little bit more about that change. So that's why we might call you back. Only about 10% of screening mammograms get called back or less. So it's not a common thing, but it's not rare either. So you may get one of these letters. Next slide. So this could be scary, all right? I know that. But more than 85% of the follow-up imaging that we'll do will be definitive. In other words, we're going to know by this follow-up imaging whether we need to bring you back in a year or to do something else. And 99% of anything that we need to do additionally as far as testing goes can be done right there. So you don't have to travel out of the area for that. So know that you're going to get an answer, which is great. So what additional imaging might we do? Well, we're either going to bring you back for an additional mammogram, a special type of mammogram, or we're going to bring you back for an ultrasound. But it's really important that you know that what we're doing, as soon as that letter goes out, is we're working very closely behind the scenes with your provider. So we're going to try to get you in just as quickly as we can. Please know this is scary when you get that letter. And we want to get you in as quick as we can, usually within that next week. Next slide. So if we do call you back for that focused ultrasound or focused mammogram, it's a very special type of mammogram. radiologists, what we look for in those screening mammograms, we look for masses, we look for architectural distortions, we look for calcifications, and all those things can sometimes be difficult to see clearly on that screening mammogram, and so we'll need an additional mammogram to see that, a special type. Or we'll bring you back for an ultrasound, which allows us to look at the tissue in a little different way. Next slide. So in your screening mammogram, you have the paddle on the left. That's that large paddle, and you can see it covers the entire breast, and so that's what we're doing. We're looking at the entire breast. On the right side are more specialized paddles that we use to look at a very specific part of the breast. So they're much smaller and allow us to focus in. So next slide. If we have to bring you back for an ultrasound, you're going to be in this room here, and you can see the ultrasound machine there. So next slide. That special mammogram I talked about, that focused mammogram, what we're looking for is on your left side, you can see a regular screening mammogram, and you might be able to see up in the upper part of the breast, there's a small little group of calcifications that we picked up. And we said, I want to know more. So now we bring you back for the focused ultrasound with that focused paddle. You can see how those calcifications just pop out. They look like little grains of sand. And so now we're able to look at those and say, are those calcifications that we're worried about or not? It just gives us a much better look at those. Next slide. If we bring it back for an ultrasound special is it doesn't involve any radiation, it's sound waves. And so it helps us differentiate that little dense area on the breast, or whether it's a solid lesion or whether it's a cyst. They can kind of look the same on a mammogram, but an ultrasound look much different. The image in the middle, that's a cyst. It's black, it has nothing inside, it's just water, nothing to worry about. Solid masses are on either side, but you can see the one on the left is nice and round and regular. We don't really worry about those either. But that one on the right, that looks kind of angry. It's nice and lobulated, it looks angry. And so we would be concerned about that, and we would recommend a biopsy. And ultrasound, then we can look at that and say, is this a lesion that would be best sampled by ultrasound or by stereotactic? And we can do that right there in the department. So that's the power of ultrasound. Next slide. Now, if you do get called back for that additional letter, I know that that's scary, all right? I've had that happen to me. So I know that that's scary. But this is my promise to you, and it's a promise we make to everyone if you get called back for additional imaging, is you're going to get a private consultation with a radiologist that same day, all right? I don't want you leaving the Women's Imaging Center without knowing exactly what's happening. You don't get a letter in the mail. You get to talk to us, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to discuss the reason behind that we called you back for that additional imaging. We're going to carefully explain the results of your final exams after the ultrasound of that special mammogram that we've done. We're going to review any images with you that are appropriate. We're going to give you the recommendations for your follow-up, any additional exams that we need, and we're going to answer all your questions. And we're really going to provide you with a clear path as to what to do next, so you don't leave the Women's Imaging Center with any questions. So thank you very much. So that's a look behind what happens. So Patricia Kempthorne, as you know, former First Lady of Idaho, started this back in 2002, the Pink Teas. And she established Pink Teas not only here, but around the state. She's been an advocate for cancer therapy, or cancer, for many, many years. And she's not able to join us today, but she did send a video for us to enjoy. So with that, Patricia Kempthorne.
When I had the opportunity to become First Lady, actually Jackie Batt had started doing some work with breast cancer, and it was very much a part of what was in the conversation at that time. So they had started some luncheons and things like that. Part of it was continuing some of the work she had started. And then when we started developing it and we started calling around, I know we did at least 7 the first year, and we would go drive around the state and put together a pink tea, and they all looked a little bit different, but it was really about the community coming together, recognizing both prevention mammographies and the importance of that. That's where it started. We came up here, I remember, there was about 35 people. It was Gritman, it was the American Cancer Society, and we started talking about what we wanted to do, and we just sort of planned it. It was a wonderful community thing, and it was great fun. And then it grew, and it grew, and it grew. When we left office, the ones that kept calling back, or the only one that kept calling back was Gritman. And they kept inviting me back. And I really, it's very special for me, partly because I went to the University of Idaho. My husband and I both graduated from here. He was an orderly at Gritman when he was in college. And just the team that they put together here and their commitment that they made made it something very special. I just think it's wonderful what the community did to make it work. They really made it a community event. Having what's here in Moscow, what Gritman has, and what Gritman is building is so important to the whole Northwest, the Palouse area. I think one of the things that the effort around breast cancer has done is made other cancers even more visible too. Because I worked for the American Cancer Society right out of college, and I know when I would walk into a room and I'd say I'm with the American Cancer Society, people would physically step back as if they could get it, because there's a lot of fear around that. What the effort around breast cancer prevention has done, again, is really open up the idea about cancer and understanding it and getting the help we need as soon as we can. Because we do talk about it, and we talk about when it's good and when it works and the treatment, but we talk about how we can be in it together and help each other. Get your mammogram. I say get your mammogram. Keep going. In fact, I asked when I went for mine today, how long do I have to keep doing this? She said, forever. Okay, because forever means good. That's forever. But it's also, once they do that, especially with the 3D, they can tell what is the next step. Should we do more? Yes, do whatever you can. Find out the information. And we have advanced so far. There's a huge percentage of breast cancer that can be stopped if we get it early enough. And we need to do everything we can in the beginning as early as we can.
Thank you, Patricia, for everything you have done to support cancer care services in our region and our nation. We're so grateful for your continued dedication to this important cause. Our next guest, Sharon White, is a cancer survivor with an important message for all of us. A resident of Palouse and a retired Washington State University employee, Sharon will share reflections about her time with cancer, the profound impact it had on her life, and how movement and visualization kept her going. Let's welcome Sharon White to the stage.
Hi. Let me get to my place here. Okay. I'm a little nervous, so just bear with me. My name is Sharon White, and I'm here today to talk to you about my life with breast cancer. Let me tell you a little bit about my history. I retired from WSU in the fall of 2020. I was a marketing director for major events for the university. I would work on events like convocation and commencement, but also events like this one. I worked behind the scenes. But before that, I held jobs as a graphic designer, a design manager, an art director. I was a lucky person. I was just into my second year as the events director when COVID-19 hit. For anyone working in events at that time, it changed everything about your job. I had just turned 66. I decided it was time to retire. In March of 2023, I had my yearly mammogram. Nothing unusual for me to do. I always keep up with my mammograms. At the same time, I was having unusual things going on in my body. I didn't call them symptoms at the time because I didn't know what they were. My left neck hurt, my ear hurt and itched. My underarm hurt. My left breast was a little bigger. I have been involved in different sports for a long time, so I just brushed off my unusual things, which now I know were symptoms, and considered them to be the price you pay for being athletic, old injuries. Sometimes you can be your worst enemy. I also didn't want to sound like a hypochondriac with my doctor, so I didn't really talk about it much. Big mistake on my part. A few days later, I got a call back to get more testing on an abnormal reading on my mammogram. I got another scan and then a biopsy. I'm not going to get the medical terms correct here, so please forgive me. It was discovered I had 2 lesions/tumors in my left breast and a lesion tumor in a lymph node in my left armpit. Cancer. It's definitely a word no one wants to hear. It's a really bad word. From the minute I was diagnosed, the wheels in my head started spinning in all sorts of directions. I had so much information coming at me. It was all happening so fast. But then also, it wasn't happening fast enough. Everything in my life, my plans, had changed instantly because of that really bad word, cancer. I have learned so much in the last year about cancer, so much that I never imagined I would ever need to learn. I am taking an educated guess here that all of you in this room have been affected by breast cancer or cancer in some way or another, as a cancer survivor, a person going through treatments, a caregiver, a friend, family, medical professional. God bless you, and I mean that in all sincerity. Now that I know more, I understand how hard it is to be a part of cancer. Whatever part of it makes you connected to it, cancer is hard. And without all the support you give, all of you, all the love you share, it would be much harder. I had so many people helping me with my fight with cancer in so many different ways. A meal, a card, prayers, a blanket, a hug, a kind word, a visit, flowers, a walk, family, friends, God. It all helped me move forward. I remember the first meeting with my surgeon and her team. They told Mike, my husband, and I this was going to be a fight and to take it on as if it were a full-time job. They said, "You are an active person. Use that to your advantage. Keep in motion, keep moving." So that's what I did. Every day I would move. The process. Chemotherapy is rough. You probably all know that already. I had 5 months of treatments. The first 2 months were every 2 weeks of the strong stuff. Very technical. Then every week for the 3 months following. I walked a lot. I biked. I hiked. I went to the gym. I worked out with weights and cardio machines. When the dizziness got too much for me on the road biking, I used a stationary bike. I just added a little more walking. When the dizziness started creeping into my walks, I started using support sticks. When I had trouble making it up hills because of fatigue, I walked them backwards. I only walked half-mile some days. I was determined to keep movement a part of my everyday. You can see I keep moving. It's just the way I am. I did yoga daily. If you can't walk and you can't bike, do yoga, or even some gentle stretching and breathing. Little moves went a long way for me then. When I had to spend more time sitting than I wanted to, I sat outside or I drew. Sometimes I did both at the same time. When my daughter was visiting, she would plan a field trip for us out into the woods. She would set up set us up with chairs and pencils and paper, and we would draw together out there in the woods. I love her. I did what I could not to focus on what was happening to me. I worked on projects that kept my mind and hands busy. I talked to God. When I was at Palouse Oncology getting my chemo infusions, I would visualize an army of Pac-Men, minions, chomping away at the tumors. Even when I was tethered to my port getting my infusion, I would visualize movement. Even when I drew, I was moving my hand and my arm. I live in Palouse, and I'm very fortunate to live about a mile out of town. I have a wonderful view of the Palouse River and Kamiak Butte. I spent a lot of time that summer of chemo sitting on my deck, looking out towards the Palouse and my garden. I worked in my garden a little bit too. Actually, I worked in my garden a lot. Before chemo started, my daughter, Taylor, gave me a grab bag that was filled with quotes, words of encouragement, upbeat sayings, her drawings, poetry, and a rubbing stone. She would bring new ones every so often to replenish my stash. One day, while sitting on my deck with a blanket on, even though it was 90 degrees, I was feeling particularly vulnerable, so I randomly pulled out one of the pieces of paper. Please allow me to read it to you. This is an excerpt from the poem Sunrise by Louise Gulk, American poet and essayist. And if you missed a day, there was always the rest. And if you missed a year, it didn't matter. The hills weren't going anywhere. The thyme and rosemary kept coming back. The sun kept rising. The bushes kept bearing fruit. Surgery. Next was surgery. I had a unilateral mastectomy of my left breast and removal of 13, I believe, lymph nodes under my left arm, performed by Dr. Moline, a surgeon in from Cancer Care Northwest in Spokane. I also had a lymphovenous anastomosis immediately following my mastectomy. It was performed by Dr. Sousa, a surgeon at Plastic Surgery Northwest in Spokane. She attached some of the vessels, I think there were 3, from the lymph nodes that were removed to a main lymph vessel, microscopic work. Oh, and I had my port out. Yay. Mike and Taylor were with me all the way. They gave me strength. They gave me love. They took care of me. The things I remember about surgery that day, a lot of people checking things, stopping by, very kind people, very busy place. When I was being wheeled into the operating room, Dr. Moline came to say hello before I went under. She must have seen anxiety or fear in my eyes. She said, "Here we go." And she put her hand on mine and held it. I will not forget that. Then I woke up in the recovery room. Phew, I think I need a drink. It's just bubbly. And I think it's time for another quote from my daughter's grab bag. This is from Brene Brown, American academic, author, and speaker. Faith is a place of mystery, where we find the courage to believe in what we cannot see, and the strength to let go of our fear, our uncertainty. 6 weeks later, I began 30 days of radiation, 5 days a week. Not too bad. I didn't get too tired. I was going down to Lewiston. I drove myself most of that time. It made me feel stronger. I had started back to swimming because my port scar was healed, but I had to stop after a couple weeks as my skin was burnt and the chlorine hurt. Back to walking. I couldn't move while under the radiation machine, so what I did to keep moving was I visualized superheroes with ray guns smashing cancer cells to smithereens. Cancer sucks. That was another random pull from my daughter's grab bag, but boy, do I agree with it. The takeaways that I would like to pass on to others that I have learned through having and fighting cancer. Be kind to yourself. Be patient. Be kind to others and also patient. Healing takes time. Find a focus, own something, and stick to it. Embrace it. It might be writing a book, might be learning a musical instrument. Maybe it would be making ornaments for Christmas. Something that can give your mind a place to find respite during the fight. Anything that would help you move forward, to help you get through it. Also, if someone wants to help you, please let them. Family, friends, strangers, it will help you stay strong. And when you can, pass that kindness on to others. You'll be glad you did. I believe in God, and I feel comfort in that faith during the times when nothing else can. In closing, I really want to thank Palouse Oncology, Dr. Rai, Jonathan, and Dr. Raj. Everyone that I met, I mean everyone, helped me through this. Your compassion is amazing. It takes a special gift to be an oncology nurse. You are all angels, each of you. No, really, you are. I want to thank Dr. Fairbanks and the radiation technicians, well, everyone that I came in contact with at Cancer Care Northwest in Lewiston. Such kind and caring people. I met a retired farmer who was coming down to Lewiston daily as I was for his treatment too. We got to be friends, chatting, waiting for our turn. My last day of treatment, I will not forget the bear hug he gave me. I hope he's doing okay. I pray he's doing okay. The Light a Candle program through Gritman is such a valuable program. They were there for me. They helped me navigate as I entered a completely unfamiliar world, showed me so many options on how to deal with cancer. Wigs, hats, breast forms, just stuff that I knew nothing about. I was overwhelmed, and they guided me through the maze with kindness. Light a Candle also provided me with a gas card, which was so helpful, as well as massages. It all made a difference for me. There's also a local program called Northwest Cancer Foundation of Hope for Latah and Whitman counties. They gave me financial support to use how I needed it. It helped pay for my specialized surgery. I want to leave you with one more quote from the grab bag. This is an excerpt from On Earth, We Are Briefly Gorgeous by the American poet and essayist Ocean Vuong. Sometimes when I'm careless, I think survival is easy. You just keep moving forward with what you have or what's left of what you were given until something changes or you realize at last that you can change without disappearing, that all you had to do was wait until the storm passes you over. And you find that, yes, your name is still attached to a living thing. In February of 2025, I will be a year out from having my last cancer treatment. I can then call myself a cancer survivor. Thank you for your patience and kindness, for for letting me speak to you today. It's an honor. Peace.
Thank you. I thought I would get through this, but I'm so moved by you and our other speakers. And being a member of this community since 1994, I'm very moved by all of the beautiful people that I know in this room who advocate and consistently support and care and spread kindness. It's truly the best place to live. As you heard from our speakers today, these are valuable programs and services that provide important and vital assistance at a time when the people receiving that assistance need it the most. These programs exist because of the forethought and determination of visionary leaders throughout our state and in our community. Now is the time of the event where I will ask for your support. The Gritman Foundation and our programs would not exist if it were not for the generous philanthropic support of everyone in this room. If you have not already done so, I am asking you to fill out the donation card at your table and insert it in the envelopes. The ushers will be making their way around the room here shortly to pick up these envelopes as we conclude the program. It's through our donations today that we will be able to build upon the support of those visionaries who came before us to serve our friends and neighbors for generations to come. Thank you. Thank you as a fellow community member for coming today. This concludes our program, but please stay and enjoy the company of the people in this room. We look forward to seeing you again. My love to you.